Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Welcome, one and all.
Yes, we are back with an episode of the Retro Review Crew.
How long it has been.
Yes, I feel like we say that too often.
Oh my goodness,
it really
yes.
has been long.
This whole being an adult thing, I tell you, it's tricky. But
Absolutely.
we have not forgotten our loyal following.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yes, we are back, and if you couldn't tell by the music, we're here to talk about Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo.
That's right.
And not to be confused with the Jurassic Park for Sega Genesis.
Right. I think they made one for the Game Boy. They did make one similar for the regular Nintendo as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, similar to this, but I have never played any of those. In fact, I had never really played this one too much until, well, we decided to play it for this episode.
Yes. And just a side note, there was actually a new game or a new compilation pack that just came up for all three systems, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. It had all the classic Jurassic Park games in one.
Pretty darn cool.
Yes, and Jurassic Park last summer celebrated its 30th anniversary.
Oh, yeah, which is pretty crazy to think.
I know, 30 years. I can remember watching the movie in a drive-thru.
Yeah. I saw it, we went to the theater with my parents and my brother, and we saw it. When it came out, it's crazy to think it was that long ago.
And I remember the drive-thru, people were talking about the O.J. Simpson car chase. And this was before cell phones, obviously. So it made news even at this drive-thru. And I was like, didn't really know what was happening. I knew about the, whole murder charge and stuff, but...
Yeah, that was a crazy time. Mm-hmm. You never quite knew when the next thing was going to drop about that.
Yes.
Him trying to run away and his friend Al Collins trying to drive him away. And yeah, that was a crazy, crazy time.
It really was.
But
it really was.
If the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
That's right.
That's what we were told.
Oh, that's right. That's iconic saying right
Absolutely.
There, so, but Jurassic Park. So, did you have any experience with this game when it first came out, really?
Just a little bit. I had a friend who had it. He had a whole bunch of random games that I've never probably would have come in contact with until much later in life, but his parents just kind of bought him like all kinds of random stuff. So he had it. So I played it there a few times, but again, it was just kind of like I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of walking around in it, usually getting killed almost immediately by some, raptors or whatever.
Yeah.
And then not knowing where to go. And so I played around with it a little bit, but then we get bored and just play Mortal Kombat or something.
Yeah. I could see that.
Absolutely. So I played a little bit, and I just remembered it being a little tricky to jump right into and get a feel for.
Yes.
The game kind of throws you right in, doesn't really explain anything right away.
Correct. There's not a lot of explaining at all, actually.
So that was a lot of the difficulty, was just being like, I don't know where to go. And so then I kind of, didn't really play for all that long, maybe like 15 minutes, and then just said, okay, let's try something else.
Yeah.
So that's my memory. I was probably, again, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe something like that at the absolute oldest. So
Sure.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, actually, I didn't ask for the game. I just got it for a Christmas present. It was pretty early in the Super Nintendo's lifespan,
right?
From what I remember, and I would say I was pretty big fan of the movie, so I think that's probably why my parents thought, oh, hey, he wants the game,
Yeah.
So, got the game, and I played it for quite a bit. Like, it wasn't a game that, like, really I got into, like Donkey Kong Country or something like that, Mario. But it was enough to keep me coming back. But there are so many things I did not know when I was little.
Sure.
That, like, you could just keep on playing and your progress would be saved until you turned off the system, and then you would start over again.
That was the tricky thing in so many ways, is because there's no password feature and there's no save files. You have to beat this all in one sitting. Which, once you know everything you need to do, it doesn't take all that long. I mean, it's still going to take several hours. But when you're just like kind of playing through it and trying to make progress,
Yes.
I mean, you could easily be playing this for 10 hours and be like, well, I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
It's going to go. So it's one of those kind of games that when you were a kid, if you were going to play it and really try to like make a go for it, you'd basically be like, well, I hope my system doesn't overheat when I leave this on all night. Kind of hoping that you can beat it the next day or whatever. And I know a lot of people who did that kind of stuff. I was always like afraid my system was going to like, crap out on me if I left it on overnight and stuff.
Right. That's what you feared that, right? Because
Yeah.
it would get hot in the back. You could always tell.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, maybe are you driving energy costs up? Stuff your parents would say to you if you left a light on.
Yeah,
or,
it's not like we had our own real income coming in and stuff. My system crapped out on me. It stopped working. Not like I was getting a new one anytime soon.
Right, exactly. So it was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
So, so this game you have to beat in one sitting, which could be a deal breaker, especially back then when you didn't have a guide, you didn't have anything. You basically had to write stuff down on a notebook or something.
Right.
And remember what you've all went through. So.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have, a lot of knowledge of where we could find stuff. I mean, basically, if some games had strategy guides or you get little hints in magazines, but honestly, you had to figure out all this on your own because, the internet really wasn't a thing that we understood to that degree. Yes. I don't know if the stuff was out there, but I certainly didn't know where to find that kind of information. To be like, okay, what's my walkthrough to get through this? Nowadays, it's so easy to find that stuff. You just punch something in, look for one of, many different websites or whatever, and they can walk you through from start to finish. Whereas you had to figure out most of that all on your own when this game would have been first coming out. So it takes a lot of persistence and a lot of just a lot of persistence to beat this back then. Nowadays, it's definitely easier because you have those resources if you really need. But,
correct. Yeah. You can see the end goal, kind of.
Yeah. Again, it just plops you right into the game. It doesn't give you any explanation of what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's multiple in-game objectives.
Yes.
That you hear little allusions to here, you can kind of pick up on, but you very rarely say you need to go to this point and do this right now. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and there's a lot of triggers that happen.
Yes.
And I feel like there's more things where you can get confused on with the computers and all that, and we'll get into that. But I think the one thing that really drew me was how at the time, was kind of how scary the game gets when you do go into a building.
Oh, but yeah.
This game is actually, it's on a lot of top 10 lists for scariest Super Nintendo game. And I can see that because there wasn't a lot of games like this. They had the Doom perspective.
Yeah.
And the dinosaurs kind of look kind of creepy.
They do.
Once you put the night vision or the goggles on. And
yeah. They're off in the distance. Sometimes
they're off in the distance.
And you're just kind of looking like, is that one back there? I can't really tell. And then when you get close, then they kind of spring to life.
Yes, they come at you.
And it was, it was a pretty ambitious game, actually, for a lot of things it does, because it combines that overhead view from a lot of it. And then when you go in the building, again, it goes to go into buildings, it goes into that first person kind of view, where then you feel like you're just walking around in these dark, seemingly deserted buildings trying to figure out where to go. And you're turning, and your reaction time isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
So it's easy for a dinosaur to get some chomps on you.
Yes.
You're not ready for it.
Yeah, that's the one of the things. It gives that creepy vibe to it. I don't know if the game intended it to be that way. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But it definitely does give it off. So
yes.
So so why don't we kind of do the background for this?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right.
Take us down memory lane.
Sure. Jurassic Park is an open-world action-adventure video game for the Super Nintendo, based on the 1990 novel and the 1993 film of the same name. It was developed and published by Ocean Software in 1993 in North America and PAL regions, and published by Jailco in 1994 in Japan. I know Ocean Software made a few games.
I recognize their logo, and I'm sure I've seen them on a bunch of different things. I can't think of other examples off the top of my head, but
I want to
know
see.
I've seen that logo.
They did a WWF, one of those JLN. They were like a co-publisher on one of them, but I'm not positive on that.
LJN did some wrestling games from like that time period for the Super Nintendo. They did a lot of movie games too. LJN. It's actually funny because if you watch different things like the Angry Video Game Nerd, he always refers to a lot of their games, and those are not as highly regarded in his eyes, a lot of the movie-based games. So it's cool to see that Ocean did this one, because this game, well, we'll get to it, but this game, I think they did a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
The player controls Dr. Alan Grant, a paleontologist who has become trapped at Jurassic Park, an island theme park and zoo populated by genetically engineered dinosaurs. The game's exterior portion is viewed from a top-down perspective, but shifts to a first-person view during interior sections. The game garnered praise for these varied and three-dimensional perspectives, the usage of stereo sound, and the adventure gameplay. In 1994, Ocean also released a sequel, Jurassic Park 2, The Chaos Continues, with gameplay which is significantly different from that of the original.
Yes, I've never played that one. So.
No, we may have to do that one.
We may have to
down the
that
line.
One.
So
it sounds interesting, especially since it sounds like it's a very different design, a very different gameplay design.
Yes.
From this one, so makes you curious.
Absolutely. So I guess to really kind of just start with the gameplay or the game, you're basically dropped right by the Jurassic Park gate.
Yes.
And you see like...
And if you remember, actually, as soon as you go in for the on your first life, go into it, there's kind of a comical, plain sounding voice that says, "Welcome to Jurassic
Welcome
Park."
to Jurassic Park, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in a very serious tone. So.
Yes.
If you like that 90s voice acting,
yes.
Which we kind of do throughout
absolutely.
It's pretty good.
For our Resident Evil review.
Oh, gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, if you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out.
Absolutely, that one is quite the experience.
That's a good one.
Voice acting of a whole different level.
Yeah, no kidding. So just to kind of go in when you start off, you see different weapons on the ground.
Yep.
The different weapons in this game, you can get our kettle prod, bolus snare rifle, rocket launcher, shotgun, gas grenade launcher, and tranquilizer gun.
Yes.
So
some are a lot more useful than others, from my experience.
Yes. I feel like if we talk about the tranquilizer, that's really only for, I believe, the T-Rex.
That's what I believe the game said, yeah. I never tried to use it against the T-Rex.
Right.
I only saw the T-Rex a couple times. Both times he immediately ate me.
Yes.
I did not have a tranquilizer gun to try.
I didn't have time to try it. I guess that could have been something I could have tried a little bit more, but
yeah. I mean, most of the time the T-Rex isn't really a big issue.
Yes.
You hear the music, and that's kind of a freaky part when you hear the music when you get out of a building sometimes.
Yes.
But it's pretty easy usually to stay out of his reach.
Yes,
Just kind of stay by the building as much as you can.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the key in this game a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't, and I don't know, that's kind of weird how you only really do run into him like two parts of the game.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting, but...
Yeah, you hear like a different kind of music, and it's definitely like a different, more of an urgency kind of feel, more drums to the music, and you're like, okay. So it freaks you out just because you're like, okay, what do I have to do to avoid him? What can I do?
Yes.
But the key is pretty much just stay by buildings, and don't go too far off the beaten path, and you should be okay.
You should be all right. And I guess we could probably just go through this like quick guide.
Sure.
I think that's probably the best way to go through this game.
Yeah.
And then we can just kind of comment on, what's in there and what's not. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's probably the best way to do this. So thank you to Flying Omelet for making this quick guide. Just thought I'd give him some credit for this. So
absolutely.
So step one, you start at the Jurassic Park gate, pick up some weapons that you see lying around on the ground, then head south where you'll find the Nublar utility shed.
Yes.
You are going to collect Egg 1 here. So
Yes.
south of the shed. So I guess we should talk about the eggs.
Yes.
So this is like one of the collector items that you get in this game. There's, I believe, 17 eggs.
17 or 18, I can't remember.
Oh, it might be 18.
I think it's 18.
Okay, that would make sense.
And again, those are one of those things that once you grab your first one, all of a sudden you see like, how many eggs are remaining, and it shows a picture of Dr. Ian Malcolm, everyone's favorite, chaos. I can't remember exactly what there is, but
yeah,
he's a scientist all about chaos theory.
Yes,
played by everyone's favorite Jeff Goldblum.
Yes,
so you see his face up every time you pick up an egg. And like part of me was like, is this just like some bonus thing? But no, it is an essential thing that you get all the eggs to actually beat the game.
Yes.
So, and they're kind of scattered all over. Sometimes you'll see them pretty easily, and sometimes you gotta go hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And your own Easter egg hunt.
Yes. Some of them, they're like plain view, but then others are just so easy to, or you are very hard to find, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
the good news is that once you pick one up, even if you die, you don't have to pick that same one up again.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
And it's nice, too, that every time you pick one up, you see the thing with how many eggs are left.
Yes.
So you know where you are. You don't have to, like, try to keep it all on track how many you have.
Sure.
But, yeah, they're pretty cool, and they look like those little Easter egg things, all the speckles on them and everything.
Yes.
They're kind of a shade of blue, and yeah, you'll be looking for a lot of them.
And I believe it's X to pick them up. I believe
so. Yeah,
Yes.
because there's a button. I think it's the X button that makes you kind of crouch over a little bit.
Yeah.
Which you have to use to pick up stuff when you're doing the overhead view, when you're on like the world map kind of thing. When you're inside the buildings, you just have to walk over something to pick it up. Mm-hmm. But on the
makes it super easy.
It does, but it can also be annoying because it'll switch your weapons,
yes.
and then you gotta back up and walk back over again when you're in the building.
Especially when you're in a tight room and you can't like really maneuver around it. You have to get that bad weapon that you don't want.
Right.
And then you have to go back to get the one you did have just to get to the next section. So
yeah. So that's something that's interesting, is that difference is there, and there's several differences between like how to do things when you're on that overworld map. As opposed to when you're in the actual buildings. Some of the things are little changes here and there that you pick up on fast, but, just little differences.
Little things, yeah.
Yeah.
And this was one thing that I think we had a little difficulty at first, was being able to switch your weapons.
Yes.
You can actually switch them, I believe, by the select button.
I believe so, yes. And that'll allow you to switch between your two primary weapons, which you start with like the little cattle prod, which is not all that useful for most things.
Yeah.
It's good for like these tiny little dinosaurs that are running around. But for most things, you're going to want more of the heavy guns. Your shotgun, or especially like the launchers, those are really nice to have.
Launchers are great.
Yeah. So you can switch between those. If you're trying to conserve ammo, you can switch to your cattle prod, or if you're trying to get those pesky little teeny dinosaurs, then it's nice to have the cattle prod.
Yeah.
And the cattle prod, you have unlimited ammo, but it does have like a bar on it, so that the longer you hold it, that'll kind of drain it. And if you get down to the point where it's all the way emptied, you have to wait for it to charge back up before you can use it again.
Yes, and there are some situations where you will run into that.
Yeah.
And the bola snare, I think, is one of my favorite weapons. It just kills. It's got like a 3 circle. There's like 3 in a circle, and you can hit like multiple enemies at it.
That's one of the nice things too, because like, so you have your primary weapon, which again by default is your cattle prod, and then any other of those, I believe the shotgun, the launcher, and then you have your secondary guns. You don't start with a secondary weapon. You have to find those, and that's when you have the bolus is one of those. There's also like the gas thing, grenade thing, and the tranquilizer. But the bolus is hands down like the best in my opinion for your secondary weapons.
Yes,
it's just so nice, and like you said, it just goes through multiple enemies, which is really handy as well. One of the interesting things about ammo in this game is that you don't really know how much you have, but it doesn't seem like there's really like I'm sure there's some limit to how many of a type you can pick up, but it seems like it's got to be pretty high.
Yes.
Because like you can just keep picking up ammo and it keeps filling up. Now you'll see like, I think it's like 4 symbols of that on your screen, but you can still get stuff beyond that. So it's interesting because if you have a gun you really like and you just keep collecting it, you can get just tons of ammo and be set, which is really helpful to do because some areas you're going to be firing a lot of shots, and especially when you're deep in a level, it's or just in a tough area, you really don't want to be stuck with just your cattle prods. So it's good to make sure that you keep picking up ammo whenever you see it for the gun that you want.
Generally, too, when the Raptors come out, when you're in the overhead view and you're walking down tight pass, they come in threes usually. Yeah. Maybe two, but a lot of times you'll see a three.
And they are hard
fast.
To fight. Yeah.
Yes.
They take a lot of getting used to, and you really, like, you're surprised by one. Like, once you learn the layout of the map, you know where they're going to come out from. Mm-hmm. But when you are going into a new area and you don't know, like, they can take you out fast.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
And they jump around in, like, really tough patterns, so you really want to have some distance, and you really want to have your big guns out.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And when you're in the overhead view, they respawn.
They do.
When you're in the buildings, they do not respawn. So when you kill them, they're gone. But just keep that in mind when you're in the overhead view.
Yeah.
Just because you kill them doesn't mean anything. They'll be back.
Oh yeah. And another thing is your instinct a lot of times is to try to run away from them, and it's really hard to do so because they move so fast that they catch you. So your best option most of the time, unless you can really make a quick turn around a corner, is probably just to try to kill them with your weapons.
Yes.
Because I've spent many deaths trying to get away from them, and they just will take you down. They're not nice.
Those are the enemies that really, I think, take you the most.
Yeah, they're the most frustrating ones in the game, in my opinion. Again, the T-Rex is rough, but you can pretty much avoid them.
Yes.
The Triceratops might catch you off guard once or twice.
Yep, comes down the overhead view and just charges down usually. So
instant death if it hits you.
Yes.
But most of the time, you know where it is. You know where to hide. You can stay out of its reach. So yeah, the Raptors are just the most annoying.
They really are. And the other item that I wanted to talk about, well, you get your health, which will obviously regenerate health. You'll see those are just like the white box with the red cross on it.
Yeah, your first aid kits.
Yeah. And the other one is the 1-ups. Now, I don't know if we've officially figured out what they do.
Right.
Since you
have
unlimited health or
unlimited lives. You have you lose a certain amount of lives, and then you'll go to like a continue screen. But when you continue from the continue screen, it just takes you right back to where you were before you died, before you lost all your lives, and you still have all your progress and everything. So we're a little confused on why there are extra lives in the game when dying doesn't seem to really do anything to stop you. When you die, you start back at where you the last building you were in, like outside of it, you'll start there. Or if you haven't started, if you just died and you haven't been in a building yet, it'll take you right back to the Jurassic Park sign at the beginning. But it doesn't seem to matter, like when you continue, it just will set you up in that same spot like you would if you had just lost another life. But there are extra lives you can find, which, sure, pick them up if you want, but they don't really seem to change like your strategy at all. You don't have to be worried, like, if I have to continue now, is it going to take me to like the beginning of the game? It's like, no, it'll take you where you just died again, but with all your progress and everything still.
Yeah.
So we are a little confused about that. It's almost one of those things that I kind of wonder if it just didn't get implemented in quite the way they had possibly intended, or they made a last minute change. I know there weren't like a ton of people that worked on this game.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty small team.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if it was one of those things that they decided, like at the end, they're like, let's just leave them in and not change this.
Sure. I think that's probably what happened.
Why would you even have continue screen and then take you right back there, or not have like a limited amount of continues?
Yes.
So, makes you just wonder. I'm glad they don't have limited continues, my goodness.
Oh, geez. That would be very hard to beat.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough game
to beat. Especially when you're just trying to play through it all in one sitting, and you're like, okay, I'm almost there. I'm like, and you got to start all over again. It's like, no. It'll drive you crazy.
Yes, and then the other thing to note is when you do die, your respawn point will be the last building you were in.
Right, yes.
So
that's kind of handy. In fact, there's times where when we'll be moving on the overworld map and I want to make sure that I'm not going to have to start at some random spot. Like, I might just enter a building on my way to the next destination, so that if I do die, I'll end up closer to where I'm trying to go rather than all the way back to an area that might be far apart. Because this game does have a fair amount of backtracking, a lot of walking around in the same spots on that overworld map. So you'll kind of learn where you need to go, but you'll also sometimes be like, I got to hoof it all the way back there now. There's no fast travel or anything. So sometimes that can be kind of like a little mini checkpoint, is going into a building and then just coming right out of it.
Yes.
So that when you die, you'll be at that building and maybe a little closer to where you're trying to go.
Correct. That's a good strategy to have, and you'll want to do that. But there will also be times where you forget to do it, and
that is true too. Yes,
do a lot of walking because you do a lot of backtracking. So,
and there's not like a world map that you can pull up or a map of like the buildings when you're in there. Like, you can find maps and stuff online, of course.
Yes,
but you kind of have to learn where you need to go just from doing it.
Yes.
So you learn some of the ins and outs, but yeah, when there's not like a big map to look at, it's going to take you some time to get a feel for, if I go down this, little maze, how do I get out of it? Where do I end up? Where is this building in regards to here? So stuff that takes a little time to get the lay of the land and to remember it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you don't feel like doing that, you can always find a map online or somewhere, I'm sure.
Yes, they have some good maps on there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little tricky when you kind of have to figure out like where you are in regards to the map. On the video game to the map. So that could be a little tricky. But other than that, I feel like there's a lot of things in this game that they intended to be bigger to the story but weren't. Like the sensors that you get, where you just see where the dinosaurs are. I never really used it.
No. Yeah. I thought it was cool that they had that down there. And once we realized it was there, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then same here, I never looked at it.
Yes, exactly.
I never really felt like I needed to.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if a dinosaur was close enough to me that it was trying to kill me, I was very well aware of its existence and its relation where it was to me. So
exactly.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
But another good thing, though, is items do respawn in interior buildings, so you can always stock up on them.
Yes,
and
super helpful.
Honestly, I think you can stock up. I don't know what the maximum point is, but it seems like you can really stock up. Like,
you get tons of ammo. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't know if it's some crazy number like 999 or something. Who knows? But I know that I never felt like I got to a point where I like hit any kind of max, and I never got to a point where I'm like, let's just leave this. I don't need more. I'm like, nope, I will keep picking it up and keep taking as much ammo as I can get. The health items regenerate or will show back up in buildings too, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
You get the chicken turkey legs in there.
Yes,
which is funny because you don't see those on the world map. You only see those in the buildings.
Yes.
And then they do still have first aid kits too to give you even more health.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty generous with the items inside the buildings. Mm-hmm. Not as generous in the overworld overview map, with the items.
Correct. There's only a few scattered, few and far between, it seems. Yeah.
You learn kind of where some of the stuff might be, but a lot of times you're just if I need to stock up, I'm just going to go into a building.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess we could kind of talk about the dinosaurs that you'll see.
Sure.
I think that's one that we should probably talk about. Obviously, we said the raptor. We said the triceratops.
Yep.
Like we said, the raptor kind of attacks you really fast, really vicious. They do a lot of damage quickly, so you want to take them out. Or if you're far enough away from them that you can run to you can get them off the screen. That's going to be, sometimes you can do that, but best bet's to take them out.
They're much easier to fight in the buildings.
Yes.
Because they kind of wait till you get close enough to them before they attack you. So if you can see one and just line up your shot from across the room, you can kill them before they can do anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
Much trickier on the overworld map.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, they're jumping around and they're just quick and vicious and a lot trickier there. And then you have the spitter kind of enemies too. I can never say this word.
Yes.
Dilophosaurus, I think, is how I think you say it. Basically, the spitter that in the movie is what takes out Wayne Knight's character. You see them as well in the buildings as on the overworld map. On the overworld map, they, in both cases they spit.
He's not. Is he Dennis Nedry?
Dennis Nedry, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Wayne Knights is the actor. Yeah.
Okay. I was
also
trying to
known as Newman from Seinfeld. Yes, Dennis Nedry. But yeah, so the Dilophosaurus is the one that spits and big crest comes out when it's about to do it.
Yes.
They can be annoying.
Yeah.
They're a little trickier in the buildings than, say, the raptors, because if they get close enough, they can start spitting these globs at you, which come out as like these big blue orb things, which is interesting.
If you're like in their vicinity and they're like to the side and you come through straight, they can hit you a couple times.
That's the tricky part, especially about the buildings, is when you go into a room, you don't necessarily know like if it's going to be on both sides of you, so sometimes you make a move to go attack a certain side and you're getting spit in the back by one of these guys.
Yes.
On the world map, I feel like they're easier because you see them from a mile away. They only really take one hit from any decent weapon to put down.
Mm-hmm.
You can still take some damage if you're not careful because they have a little more range than, say, the other dinosaurs. But they're nowhere near as like aggressive as the raptors, and they're not as big as the Triceratops or T-Rex. So I would say, for the most part, they're pretty easy to take out. You just have to be smart.
That's right. That's right. That's great advice, honestly.
Yeah.
So then next, obviously, you have the Triceratops.
Yes, which is a little fun fact. My favorite dinosaur since I was a little kid.
Oh,
yeah!
I can see why you liked it.
It's a cool dude. But yes,
very few and far between. This dinosaur you don't see.
Right.
Probably maybe 2 or 3 times, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, kind of almost like where
definitely
as much as you see the T-Rex. Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, this dinosaur just comes down when you're walking down a path on the overhead view, usually when you're in the jungle. Mm-hmm. He comes down a path, and when you first notice him, you probably are going to get trampled because he comes so fast, and you don't kind of expect him. But as you start to, all he has got to do is touch you. And after a while, you can just dodge him to the side.
Yep.
And you just stay there, and you just let him go past. He doesn't do anything, but just runs down a path. That's it.
Yep, exactly. You can't fight him. You can't do anything to him. All you have to, you're just basically, avoid him.
Yes, yes.
There's little nooks and crannies that you can hide off to the side so that he doesn't run you over.
Exactly.
But like you said, the first time you were kind of in the area, you're probably going to get trampled by him. There are like a lot of messages throughout the game. A lot of times when you are in an area of the vicinity of certain dinosaurs, you'll see one of the characters from the game, a lot of characters from the movies say a little something, usually trying to give you a little warning or just a little idea that, okay, this dinosaur type is going to be in the area. And sometimes they give you advice that's somewhat helpful.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like they'll say certain ones are territorial, or, avoid the Triceratops when it's, run for your life when that comes for you. Things like that.
Yeah.
So it can give you a hint that that's in the area, but it doesn't often give you a lot of a hint of actually how to deal with the dinosaur.
Correct.
But yeah. But I think that was their way of trying to incorporate more of all the different characters from the movie more.
Yes. These like bubble messages that just kind of pop up. Yep.
And sometimes they're annoying because you're like in the middle of something and you want to be able to see the screen. And I don't think there's a way you can clear them. I think you just have to wait for them to go off. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's helpful sometimes, but it's also kind of annoying when you see it like for the umpteenth time. And you're like, I'm just trying to get through this area, guys.
My goodness. Yeah, no kidding. And Dennis Nedry obviously will just call you a sucker like 5,000 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a rough guy.
Yeah. He's I can't remember what he says that he does call you a sucker. He said something like, "Don't worry, something won't."
I think it's something
with
I think it might be even the Raptors. Like say like the Raptors won't like fight you or whatever, like they won't come after you, and then when one does, then he calls you a sucker.
Yeah. So that's his heel persona.
That's right. That's his heel turn right there.
Yeah, that's right. Good old Barbasol can. I remember that. So then the next dinosaur, obviously, we could talk about is the T-Rex, which is very similar to the Triceratops, except he runs from west to east.
Yeah.
instead of the north to south like the Triceratops does, and he just kind of lunges at you, not like a raptor, but he walks fast. Yeah, and he kind of comes from the left side of the screen and basically eats you.
Yes.
Unless you can avoid him.
Yeah. Just like with the Triceratops, he's a one. He touches you, you're dead.
Yep.
It's actually kind of comical to us the first time when he does it. He just eats you, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Basically, if he's around, you're probably screwed.
Yeah.
Once you see him on your screen, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
There are ways, like if you can turn a corner or something, that you might be okay.
Yeah.
But in most cases, it's just like you see him, you're probably dead.
Yeah. Apparently you can trank him. Yeah. But I feel like that's just like too much. I don't know like what would be the point, because you don't run into him enough to really want to care about it. Yeah.
When it's not really the best item for almost any other circumstance, you could do it just to kind of see what it's like, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if there's any actual graphic or if it just backs off.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know like exactly what goes on, because we never did it. So
no. We just tried to let him do his thing, and we did ours.
Exactly. So I guess the next dinosaur we could talk about are the ones that just kind of run back and forth, but they can trample over you and you can take damage.
Yeah, the big herd.
Yeah, is that the Gallimimus or?
I think so. That sounds right. I can't think of exactly how you say that.
Yeah,
some of these are a little trickier than others.
You can kill them if you really want to, and the interesting thing about them is I don't think they respawn, which is interesting because all the other ones do for the most part, but maybe they do respawn. I
honestly
can't remember.
Don't know. Yeah, the Gallimimus.
Yes.
However you say it. But
they're avoidable, obviously.
They are. They can still hit you. They're not one hit kills like the bigger dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
You can avoid them. Sometimes you'll still take a hit or here and there, but they're not as big of a problem.
Yes.
But yeah, you can kill them.
Yes.
You can avoid them.
Yes.
You can wait for them to run by and then try to sneak through. But yeah, there's a lot of them usually in one area. When you see them, you don't just see one. You usually see a whole bunch of them.
A bunch, yeah. More than you would have any other dinosaur for the most part.
Right.
Besides maybe those little, and we'll talk about those, the little, we just call them the little dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They're tiny and they're annoying. They sometimes can like lead you into a raptor because of how annoying they are. Because once they hit you, you kind of like get bumped a little bit. You move a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's best to take those out with the
cattle prods. The easiest way to get them.
Yes,
because of how tiny they are, it's really easy to miss them with other weapons.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's annoying is that they move so much, but they're also strangely like aggressive, but at other times they kind of move away from you at the last second.
Yeah.
So they can be frustrating to fight.
Yes.
But you also feel like you kind of need to get them out of your way.
Yeah, you kind of do have to clear them because they generally are like the assist to the bigger dinosaurs. So
yeah,
if you don't clear them out, they're just going to annoy you and you're going to be in trouble with the bigger dinosaurs. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they hit you, they still knock you around. So it's like, you're trying to get through an area, just clear them out as you go if you can. You don't have to get every last one, but
yes,
try to get the big ones out of your way.
Yeah, exactly. The other one that we can talk about is this is the territorial one. I call him the head rammer.
The Pachycephalosaurus.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I remember.
These ones, obviously, once they see you in the top-down view, they will charge at you, and they do a decent amount of damage.
Yeah.
Not as much as the raptor, but enough to where you kind of want to take them out, because they're generally, when I notice where they are is they're by an item. They're by like an egg or a key card or something of the sort. So you kind of want to take them out.
Yeah, they can do, again, a decent amount of damage. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like, say, a raptor, a Diet Coke of raptors.
Yes.
They can do damage. They don't move quite as fast. They are aggressive and, again, territorial.
Yes.
But they're easy enough to put down once you get a good hit on them. And again, I feel like I ran into them more early in the game and not as much towards the end. But again, there is so much backtracking that you'll run into them all the way through. Just probably more early on, you'll notice them.
Correct. And then I think the last dinosaur is just a giant fly.
Yes, that thing. Oh my gosh, that thing annoyed me so much.
It did. I think it takes a little bit more damage than the little dinosaurs do, but the way that they attack you, it's like a strange pattern where it kind of delays and then comes at you. So you can kind of get thrown off by it. You don't see them much. I think there's maybe one or two in the whole game.
There's not a lot. More in the jungle area.
Yes, jungle area is where you're going to see them.
Meganuras, what they say they're called. I'll take their word for it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're annoying and they're just hard to hit.
Yes.
But it is a nice thing when you actually clip one and take them down.
Oh yeah. Another one that kind of guards items, I feel like eggs, and sometimes you run into them when you go through a secret path, which is on the, it's like on the side of the jungle, and you'll like run into a secret path and you'll see it kind of guarding an egg or health pack or a 1-up, whatever. Yeah, one of the sort.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's all the dinosaurs in the game. Unfortunately, we didn't get like the pterodactyl or the brachiosaurus. Or,
they mentioned things in like, if you sit around for a while, like more of those bubble messages will come up from Mr. DNA, and they'll have like random dinosaur facts.
Yes,
about all different ones, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of dinosaurs that unfortunately we don't get to actually see in the game. We just hear in some dino trivia.
Yes.
So we have a decent amount. It just would have been cool to see some different,
correct,
even more.
For a Super Nintendo game, I can't really complain with the selection they gave.
Yeah, no, they gave a good range of things.
Exactly. So I guess instead of like going through all the steps, because you guys can do that on your own. I don't want to just go through all these steps because it is a lot of backtracking. We're just going to talk about the individual buildings a little bit from what we can kind of remember. There's ones that we can remember better than others.
Sure.
But I guess we can start off with the Nublar utility shed.
Yes.
This is the one where you're going to turn on the generator.
Right.
There's key cards in here, and now the reason why you need key cards is because in some of these buildings there's going to be like one room that's locked, but to get in those rooms, obviously there's going to be something important that you're going to need these key cards, and these key cards are scattered throughout, like generally the Nublar utility shed, the beach shed, and the welcome center is generally where you're going to find a lot of the key cards. You may find some in the raptor pen or the ship, or the not so much the raptor nest.
Right.
So, but
by then you've pretty much gotten all the cards.
Yes, exactly. So the Nublar utility shed to me wasn't too. Nothing that really stands out here, except for turning on the generator and then just having to get like the batteries. There's these items for batteries that will allow you to go in these dark rooms that have no lights.
Right.
Because if you do go into the room without lights, you automatically die. And,
which isn't great.
Yeah. I just found that out playing this playthrough. So
yeah. So you got to have your batteries so that your night vision goggles will work. Mm-hmm. And pretty much every building.
Yes.
I think literally every building has that.
There's at least a room or two.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of times you can get some good items there. Sometimes you use essential stuff. Sometimes you get just rooms where you can pick up power-ups and more ammo and the elusive extra lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a big part in every building to find those.
Yes.
So that you don't automatically die when you go into one of those rooms.
That's right.
The game does warn you when you move into, like, are about to go into one of those rooms. It'll just say, that you need to have these goggles to go in there. It doesn't say that you'll be immediately killed. That you just have to find out on your own.
On your own,
but it does say, like, you need that to go in there.
Yes. So at least you get that warning. At least
something.
And then there's the welcome center. which is pretty big. I believe
is.
it's got three floors on one elevator and then 2 floors on a different one.
This is the one that's got the kitchen.
Yes.
And
the incubator.
I was just going to say breeding, but incubator.
Yep.
That's right.
Incubating room. Yeah, you listen to those catchy elevator tunes.
I do love the elevator. Yeah, exactly. The elevator music is fantastic.
Yeah, you get 2 different ones. So
yep. It's good stuff.
And in this game, Jurassic Park SNES, you can use the Super Nintendo mouse.
I saw that.
So.
That you can use that when you're in the buildings. And like on like the computer terminal machine.
Yes.
It's so interesting to me because I know that games use the mouse, but outside of Mario Paint, which came with the mouse, I never tried to use it with other games. I think that's be pretty interesting to see.
It would be. I almost wonder if, like, when you're in the buildings, if this would work better with the mouse.
Probably.
It probably did, right?
Honestly, because it feels like that kind of a game. It almost puts you into a first-person shooter kind of thing.
Yes.
Where having a mouse would make it probably about 1,000,000 times more fluid than it is.
Yes.
With an old-school controller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
I think that would be pretty cool to try it with that and just to see how it feels.
Yeah, I gotta find where we can get this mouse.
I know. I don't even know what happened to the one I had from when I was a kid. Because we got Mario Paint, we had it. I'm not the kind of person who really ever throws anything away when it comes to video games.
Sure.
So I don't know what happened to it.
Same with my Super Scope 6, my friend. I don't know what happened to that either.
Absolutely. I still got my original multi-tap.
I think I was just kind of like... I don't want to keep putting batteries in this, and I just gave up, and my dad must have just threw it out. So
yeah.
So, anyways, then you got the beach shed.
Yes.
The beach shed, you gotta activate the motion sensors.
One thing I didn't like about the beach shed was getting to the beach shed.
Yeah, this is tough.
That was one where I would die a lot of the time trying to get to the beach shed and then having to go all the way back.
Yeah, this is a long stretch. Once you get what you need from the visitor center, you go to the beach shed, and you have to go down like a forest maze almost.
You do. You have to go down the maze, and you have to get around, and then there's
a lot of eggs in this area too that you can
and it's easy to get turned around. You got to deal with a lot of velociraptors jumping out of the jungle.
Yes.
So this is one of the more annoying parts, is just getting through all that to the beach shed, and then getting back once you're done in the beach shed.
Yeah.
So that's one of those cases where I'd say use any buildings along the way.
Yeah. This is... Yeah, you definitely want to... I believe where you want to go is the visitor center here.
Yes.
And then...
your kind of checkpoint.
Yeah, but the maze, like, you kind of want to go, like, southwest area, and then you'll run into the maze, and this is where you have, like, raptor heaven down here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is just raptors.
Very easy, and there's even a triceratops to add to the mix.
Yep, oh, yes.
And, You got yourself a little dino party going on just to get to this beach shed. So this is rough. You do need to go there, I believe, twice. So
yes,
unfortunately,
I believe you're correct.
Because you got to get ID cards and whatnot. So
again, the one good thing is that by the end of it, you'll get really good at knowing how to get there.
Yeah.
At first, it's really easy to get lost and turned around.
It is.
And killed.
Yes.
But over time, you just learn.
Your muscle memory kicks in, and it leads you into the right direction.
Yes, and you know where the raptors are and how to approach it better.
Exactly.
But again, just make sure you got your ammo.
Yes. Yes. Stock up on ammo in the visitor center.
Get your launcher and just take those suckers down.
That's right. That is right. So then we go. The next building would be the raptor pen.
Oh yes.
The raptor pen is one where you actually have to cross the river. In this game, you have to cross the river a couple times.
Yes.
But a few times, or the one to get to the raptor pen, you can use a cattle prod, which will allow the bridge to I don't know, extend. I don't know what you call that. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
So you can walk over it. But there's another time where the helicopter picks you up to end the game where you actually do have to jump the river. So
yeah.
And that's trickier than it sounds. You would think you'd be able to just clear it really easily, but no, you have to like match it up right on the edge of the bank,
right,
to get to the other side. So
yeah. Because like so many games, water is instant death.
Yeah, right. Oh,
not sure why that became a trope in so many video games, but nobody knows how to swim.
Right, none.
And everybody just automatically dies. So.
Especially like Super Nintendo games. I really feel like water was the enemy. Unless it was like
superhero, like all these
Mario or Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong, where they could swim.
Yeah,
but a lot of these games, you know, water was
just
bad.
death.
Pocky and Rocky, I remember it was.
Yes. Poor Pocky.
Oh, that's another game.
That's a fun one. Yes,
could possibly
absolutely
we could be doing. So yeah, just raptor pen's very long. There's a decent amount in the raptor pen. It's actually connected to the visitor center. There are ways where you can get from the raptor pen to the visitor center, just staying inside the interior. So,
and the name is not ironic. It is indeed full of raptors.
it is. It is. It's really long. There's a lot of very easy to get lost in if you don't look at a map or a guide. It's pretty long. The main thing you want is the crate. You want to go down to the sub-level 2 for that. You also want to get Ian Malcolm's ID card.
Absolutely.
And
my personal favorite ID card.
That's right. Yep. So you want to get you want to get the crate, obviously.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing too with the crate, because you have to like be by it, and then like after a certain amount of time, it just moves into place and blocks the door so that the raptors can't get out.
Yes.
But it's like you wouldn't really know that you need to do that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things like you're standing by it, you bump into it, and eventually it just moves into place.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like with this game, there's just not enough of stuff to tell you to do it. I know these Super Nintendo games could be harder, but like that, you didn't have to do that all game. And then this one time, you have to go by it and move it. Like, it's just strange.
That is one of my overall complaints about the game, is that it just does not really tell you what your objective is in most cases.
Yeah.
It just kind of like, you're just supposed to
figure this out.
Like once you've done it once, you'll know. But trying to figure that out for the first time, it's just... It's one of those games that becomes a where do you go next kind of game, and what you have to do.
Correct.
So I could see somebody who doesn't really know or playing this for the first time without any help. I mean, you just constantly got to be going to buildings and places you've already been because you don't know what the heck to do or what to activate the next point. So that is tough. Games nowadays really hold your hands with a lot of stuff like this.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a happy medium somewhere in between.
Telling
you everything every step of the way and telling you almost nothing.
At the same time.
Pretty open world. Open world kind of game. It's not like a very linear game like you said, like Super Mario Brothers or something, where your starter point, you just keep going until you're at the end of the stage, and it's a very straight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here, you have you can go all over the place and not know if you're anywhere near where you need to be.
Right.
So, there's pluses and minuses to it, but I think that adds a degree of confusion and difficulty that could frustrate a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's like, this game does not hold your hand at all.
No.
You have to just tinker around with not only the crate, but the computer systems. I feel like there's so much stuff in the computer, and most of it you don't even use. It's just so many options. Like, you can look at like some of your statistics and whatnot, but there's just so many options in the computer when you really only just need to do one thing in these computers that you go into. So
to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So
there's the whole idea of, this is basically the equivalent of telling your 5-year-old to get a job.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, how would anybody, without like hundreds of different trial and errors, be able to beat this game? To me,
exactly. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I really like a lot about this game, but that was the one thing where I'm just like, man, how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to figure this stuff out without help?
Exactly.
But I digress.
So then the next, I guess you could say, maze of the game is to try to get to your next building, which is the ship.
Ah, yes.
So the maze is like the mountain maze, is what I call this one.
Yes.
And it's a very long stretch of a mountain that you have to tread through. And there's a ton of dinosaurs on this way. It's very easy to die.
It is.
So
it's an endurance test.
It really is.
Not to mention the boulders that when you go underneath them will fall down, and those will kill you.
As well. Yep.
So.
Yep. And there's items in here. Probably, I believe there's couple eggs in this.
Mm-hmm. There's eggs on the mountain, and then some in the vicinity of the mountain too. When you get towards the end of it.
Correct. Yep. I do remember that. So then, when you tread the mountain a couple different ways to get either the eggs or to go to the ship. During one of the eggs, you will notice one of these letters on the ground.
Yes.
And like for the life of me, when I first started playing this game, I'm like, what does this mean? Like, what's the point of this?
It's not like you can't interact with them. You can't pick them up.
Yes.
Nothing happens with them. So you're like, what is this?
What is going on? What do these letters signify? Well, Travis, you want to explain what
absolutely.
it was?
So apparently, and maybe some of those out there who were playing this game like right when it came out around launch might remember, because I certainly didn't know anything about this, but there was actually a contest when this came out that basically if someone could find all the letters, there's 8 letters scattered throughout the overworld map, just off by themselves, just painted on the ground. Basically, they wanted you to figure out what the hidden message was. So if you got all of them and figure out what it was spelled, you could win $50,000, which is it 50,000? Maybe it was only 5,000. Regardless, it was still some nice change for a kiddo. But basically, it was figured within 2 days after the game was released, 94, someone actually cracked this code. So pretty darn quickly. What it ended up being was, so it's called the Great Dino Egg Hunt, which was funny to me because there's an actual dino egg hunt going on in the game, getting those 18 eggs.
Yes.
But anyways, so the players searched the game for the 8 letters placed around the park and then kind of had to unscramble them to figure out what the message was. And the message was Dr. Horner, who is the inspiration for the Alan Grant character that the game that we play as in the game, played in the movie by the incomparable Sam Neill. But 2 days after the game was released, somebody actually got it correct, which, they played the game for like 10 hours and figured it out, which you think of like 2 days after this game released, someone cracked that fast is pretty impressive. But $5,000, not $50,000, but that was what the reward was. And it's pretty crazy to think that someone found it that quick, and that's why these random letters are scattered all throughout the park.
Jeez.
So at this point, we're talking many years, 30 years after the fact?
Yeah.
31 years after the fact or something like that. That's why these letters are all around the park that confuse the heck out of us, and now we know the rest of the story.
Just crazy.
So somebody was $5,000 richer after that.
Jeez. Well, hey, good luck to them. I mean, they were able to, figure that out. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was called the Great Dino Egg Hunt.
Yes. Isn't that funny? It sounds like something that would have been like a Nintendo Power kind of competition back in the day.
Yes, the stuff that they would actually do back then.
Oh, yeah, all kinds of wacky stuff.
Yeah. Good stuff.
A little trivia there for all the folks.
Yeah. So then you enter the ship. The ship is very, very long.
Yeah, you have to do a couple trips to the ship, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and I do have a fun fact a little later on the ship, but there's a lot of levels in the ship where you just have to kill all the dinosaurs, and they have a counter.
Yeah.
And it's usually can range from 10 to 15 to 25, I think, in one of them.
Yeah, there's some pretty crazy counts you have to reach.
And and the third floor of the ship is super long. And it's very easy to get yourself turned around if you don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So,
and if you get down to like that where you have like a couple dinosaurs left, and you're like, where have I actually been? Where haven't I? It can drive you crazy trying to find those last couple dinosaurs, because every room starts to look the same.
Yeah.
And you find yourself just going in circles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very easy because there's like quarters like a ship would have, and there's the rooms of the ship, and there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And just finding that last dinosaur sometimes can be very frustrating.
Absolutely.
So
and this is a game, again, a perfect situation where it'd be nice to have like a mini map or a map you could reference.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
Don't have it.
So it's really easy to be like, oh, have I been in this area before or not? So yeah, it's tricky. I know of some people who in these kinds of games would actually like draw a map as they go.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'll just jump in there by half the time. I get to a point where I've been like, yeah, that would have been helpful if I had done that. I'm too far.
Not too much. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like that's the thing about like Super Nintendo games. You had to draw a lot of this stuff, or Nintendo games. You had to draw a lot of this by memory, and I think finally when they got out to about like the PlayStation level, they finally started putting maps in, and you know.
Well, it's tricky too because some games like Metroid, they had maps that you could refer to.
Yeah.
A lot of games did, and then some games just didn't.
Didn't have them. Yeah. They're like,
definitely.
Forget you.
Figure it out, Einstein.
Yeah.
Say to us.
Exactly. So then, the one thing I did want to say about the ship though is if you had the original copy of this game, you bought it like right away, the first wave, I guess. There was if you went into the room, and it's only on the ship level, if you went into the room like sideways through a door, your game would actually not technically freeze, but it would glitch out and you couldn't move. So you were like stuck in between the wall and the next area, and you couldn't go left, couldn't go right. You were just stuck. So your progress is all destroyed.
You get to start all over basically.
So if you do have an original copy, I just suggest going straight through every door to avoid this glitch. So do not go through it at an angle. Just go directly straight.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't run into the glitch, but that's only if you have the first wave of the games that came out. So, so it's kind of like the No Mercy glitch a little bit.
Yes. So. That's one that
the save glitch
haunts me to this day.
Oh, that's a
Love my wrestling games. Always would get them first day, and then I unfortunately was one of the not so lucky people to get the glitched No Mercy copies where it would just periodically just destroy all your data.
Forget you.
Yeah. All those creative characters you made.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
That's right.
All those things you unlocked. Don't think so.
So the beach shed can be a little tricky, but with some willpower you can get through it.
Yeah, the ship can be tough.
Yes. And then the final, when you have everything, you can go to the raptor nest. And this thing, I did not use a map for this because I was just turned around. I walked through, and a lot of people said they had a lot of trouble with it.
I was pretty lucky.
Yes.
I got through it surprisingly easily.
Fast, yeah.
I just must have been very lucky with the turns I took.
Yeah.
One thing that I found funny about this area is it all looks like some like weird I don't know, like some weird dungeon ruins when you're in it.
Yeah.
It's not at all what I thought it would look like.
No.
And there's just raptors just everywhere again, which is just kind of funny because you just go through this whole thing of just like clearing out raptors in the ship, clearing them out in the raptor pens, and now you're in this big den area, and you're just like, okay, I gotta kill more of them.
Right,
well, in this case, it's not as much about clearing them out like it was in the other one as it's getting to the end of it.
Yeah.
Where there's all the eggs.
Yes, you get these 12 eggs, and then you pick up this bomb that you get on the ship, I believe.
Right.
Or the welcome center. I think it's the ship though. And you have to detonate the bomb around the eggs. It automatically does it once you walk by it. But getting there, the raptor nest is a huge maze. It's a huge just a huge dungeon, I guess you could say, because it
It
looks
kind
like
of looks
a
like
dungeon.
a dungeon, yeah.
And the interesting thing about the raptor nest is there's actually free roaming raptors, which makes it a little tricky.
Yeah.
But with some luck, I mean, you can get through it actually pretty easy. I when I did it, I just kind of kept going left. That's kind of what I was doing. And then eventually I found the eggs, and then eventually I found the exit. Not too bad. I think I was in there for 15 minutes maybe.
Right. It's
not terrible. So you get out of there, and once you destroy that, it's time to go home.
Yes.
It's time to get on that helipad and go, and the helicopter will pick you up.
Assuming you got all your eggs.
That's right. You have to have all your eggs, and you have to have the computer stuff to get to that point. So
Right.
So because you're going to be locking gates and opening gates, and or that's what they say at least. So
Right.
yeah. So yeah. You gotta then walk down to where you started the game, go by the Nublar utility shed, cross the river, jump the river.
Yes, don't
and then,
try not to jump in it.
Yeah, do not jump in it. And then you get picked up by the helicopter.
Absolutely.
Yep. And
you have just beaten Jurassic
Park. It's like a
Yes.
blue screen. You see the island as you're floating away, and that's it. That's your ending. Yes.
You had a good stay on
You really
Jurassic
did.
Park. So yeah, the game itself, like the world map seems big when you're going through it. It's not really all that huge, but so much of the game is going to the different buildings and then kind of backtracking some of the old buildings, going through different stuff. So like if you look at the map, it's a decent size, but again, it's not like gigantic compared to some games.
Right.
But you really do have to learn your way around and kind of know over time where you need to go.
Yes.
And then where you have to go after that, where you may have already been before, and, navigating all that.
Yes.
But yeah, when you beat it, it's a pretty cool feeling.
It is because you stayed up all night to beat it.
Exactly. And again, it's a game you had to do it all one sitting.
Yeah.
So those are always like huge kind of vindication moments when you do.
That's right. I think so. When I did it, we started, I think, at 10. And I beat it at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So could I have gone faster? Sure. But I was just some of it I was kind of going through blindly, like the raptor nest. And then, obviously, so it can take you a while if you're not going hand to hand with a guide. So
right. And trying to figure it out on your own. Absolutely.
Oh, that would take really long. Yeah. Because the game doesn't give you any clues.
We had a lot of sessions where we started, played, and then knew we weren't going to be able to finish it.
Yep.
So
and
pick it up
unfortunately,
again.
we had to quit it and restart our whole.
Yeah. And then there was one time that the system decided just to reset for no reason. That was a moment where some expletives came out.
I was like, what happened?
But by the time that I finally beat it,
yes,
I felt like we knew the game pretty well.
We did. We almost knew every turn, every part where the dinosaurs come out.
So that was much start and stop from before. So you learn it and kind of just, I don't know, it's enjoyable.
It is.
It's a feeling of accomplishment when you're like, okay, we did it.
Yes, exactly. We finally got this game, finally beat it after all these years, for me at least.
Yeah.
So that was one that I had on the bucket list that I wanted to beat. And the game brought a lot of just unique experiences, I guess, especially with the overhead to the interior view.
Yeah, which feels like at this point was a pretty novel thing to do. I don't think there's too many other games, console games that would do that kind of thing where having you jump from one to the other like this.
Yes.
I can think of a game like Fester's Quest for the Nintendo that did it to a degree, but I never really played a lot of that, so I don't know how much of a deal it goes with that, but my guess is that this does it in a more intricate way.
The one NES game I actually own.
I actually have that one too.
Well, yeah.
I picked it up at one of the retro gaming stores, and I was like, I want to play this sometime, but I think I need to get like one of those turbo controllers because I feel like you're always having to hit the button so much. I feel like I'll give myself some kind of carpal tunnel or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that game has some of that, like some...
Yeah.
When you go inside a building and it goes to like that first person thing. I don't know that you actually fight anybody on any of those or not. I think this probably takes it to a higher level.
Sure.
But that's the only other game I can think of from that kind of, random or relative time period on console gaming that you had that, where you had a 2D experience and then more of that 3D experience inside. So, I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty novel idea.
Yeah.
For this time. Because, really, you spend as much time in buildings as you spend out of them in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the world's so much bigger, obviously.
Yeah.
On the outside than the inside. Except for, the raptor nest is pretty big. But, yeah. But, why don't... that's the ending. I do want to mention, there's one thing that caught me with the trivia for this game. Apparently, there is a hidden... level, apparently. Yeah, it says this was it says the completion for this game takes about 4 hours and 30 minutes to complete the game if you want to do the main story, while it takes 10 hours and 40 minutes to complete the game with the main story and extras. I didn't know there was extras.
I don't know what the extras would be. What that refers to.
Yeah, so I don't really understand what the extras would be in this game besides what you're already doing.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know what the game basically tells you have to do.
Yeah.
Well, it even doesn't necessarily tell you that all that explicitly, so I don't really know what that refers to. That's interesting.
This is very strange.
To my knowledge, that the ones that you need to do, you need to collect all 18 dinosaur eggs. You need to turn on the generator to reactivate the motion sensors. You need to move the crates in the visitor center so that raptors can't enter the building. Then you have to kill all the dinosaurs on the ship, which we know is a time-consuming thing. Then you have to use the bomb in the raptor nest where the eggs are. And then you send that SOS on one of the terminals once you have and then you run to the helicopter. I don't know of anything else that are essential to do. Yeah. So I'm interested. I don't know what those other extra things would be.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I'm not sure where I read that there was a hidden level. Now that I'm looking at this, maybe it was for something else. Because I'm not seeing it. But I did scroll across it, something that said there was a hidden level in this game, but maybe not. So, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Good question, though.
Yeah, that's strange. Oh, maybe it was... Here it is. In 2014, IGN included the game on its list of the most difficult game list because of reasons such as scattered raptor eggs and key cards not being able to save the game in limited lives. There is a secret level in the Eastern Mountain Range that gives you the ability to get as much lives as you want.
That's interesting, because again, you don't really need the lives, though.
Yeah, so which makes no sense. So.
Yeah, still not really sure if that was just something that wasn't fully implemented.
Yeah. So I guess maybe that it's just the mountain range that they're counting the hidden level, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I think I probably walked around it, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing...
Strange,
nothing too big there. So
who's to say?
That's right. So let's go into the rankings here.
Let's do it.
Graphics. What do you got the graphics for?
Graphics. I think that this game was pretty darn advanced, especially for its time. Mm-hmm. And I actually do like the graphics. I feel like they hold up pretty well.
Yes.
A lot of Super Nintendo games that use this kind of style, I feel like their graphics hold up really well.
Yes.
Even better than some N64 or PlayStation games because of the more polygonal kind of things that they had at that time. I feel like these kinds of games and this kind of system games really hold up well. Mm-hmm. So my rating on this is going to be a B. I think that the graphics are really nice. I think they're colorful. I think that there's enough variety. That it really comes together in a nice way. So yeah, I think that obviously some things could have been a little bit more detailed in some areas, but I never felt like it ever detracted from the experience. And in some areas, I really thought they did a cool job of setting the tone. Like in the buildings, the colors are a lot of times brighter, different hues of like blues and things like that, where the world map, it's the green and the brown, and it just gives you a different feel. So it looks lush and everything. So yeah, I'd say I'm giving it a B.
Yeah, no. I think for the graphics were really good on this game, especially when it goes from the interior to the overhead view. I think just what they were able to do in such a, cartridge for this time period, I think it was pretty excellent. So I got to give it actually about an 8.8 out of 10. I think it's high on my list. Not the best Super Nintendo game, but definitely up there. I think it's just really good. So
I gotcha.
Yeah. Let's go sound.
Sounds interesting because I like some of the sound a lot in this game. I love the music.
Yeah.
I love how the music kind of jumps in when you're just exploring on the map, the world map and everything. I don't know if it's like Peruvian kind of theme to it or whatever, but I like it. But it's strange because I feel like there's not a ton of variety, though, which is a little bit of a downer. And I feel like it seems sometimes random, like when the music plays and when it doesn't, which isn't bad, but it's just a little strange to me. Mm-hmm. I love the elevator music in the building.
Yes.
I love the T-Rex music when that plays. But I feel like there's just areas where, I don't know, I would have liked a little more variety of music in different areas, and I would have liked a little more consistency for when it's playing and when it's just decides to
stop. Yes.
So the actual music itself in the game that is there, I love. I really think highly of. For the other things I mentioned, that detracts from a little bit. So I am going to give it a C+ in that regard. I think the music is good. I just feel like there should be more of it, and that it should be a little more consistent.
Sure. I actually think the music on this game is actually pretty good. It seems like it not shuffles, but it seems like wherever area you're in, that's where the specific track will play.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, but there is one that kind of sticks out to me. You got the jungle one, which is pretty good song.
Yeah.
But the ship one, that's a really interesting song that gets played. It's almost like a dreadful. It's kind of creepy, actually. I don't know why they chose that for the ship, but So it's not the most advanced soundtrack for a game, but I do like the raptor noises and the guns sound pretty good and whatnot. So I'm going to give it like a 7.7 out of 10 there. So, yeah, around the same as what you did.
I gotcha.
So let's go replayability.
Replayability, that's an interesting one. I like the game a lot. I don't really see myself playing through it anytime soon.
Yeah.
Again, because of the lack of a save feature, having to sit down and do it all in one sitting, I feel like does hurt the replayability.
Yeah.
You do so much when you play through that feels like it's a pretty exhaustive thing that doesn't feel like there's a lot that you come back in and would feel like I missed something or I want to do something in a different way.
Yes.
I feel like you do everything when you play through, and the game doesn't really give you the option to leave things undone.
Yeah.
So you have to get all the eggs. That could be something like where you're thinking, if I didn't have to do that, maybe next time I'll go through and see if I can find all of them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you have to find them all to beat the game, period. Yeah. So because of that, I think that does hurt the replayability.
Yes.
And I think the replayability is also hurt, again, because it doesn't have a save feature or a password feature where you basically have to do it all in one sitting.
Yes.
So because of that, I'm going to give the replayability a... I would say D+.
Yeah, I get that.
I like the game a lot, but I can't see myself
going in
being
to do it again.
I have a day. It's like, hey, I have a day off. This is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go through this again. Right. It's like,
exactly.
It's a fun game, so I could see people wanting to play it again down the line.
Sure,
but I can't see myself putting the time in there when there's so many other games in the world that I haven't gotten to yet. To be like, all right, let's do this all over again.
Right. Let's party it up for Jurassic Park.
Right.
No, I totally agree. I think this is because it was on my bucket list to beat this game, and I just had to do it. So I probably played this game more than most people have.
Sure.
But yeah, this once you go all the way through and you do this in one sitting, unless you're playing on the new consoles with the new collection package, this is, to me, it's a one and done almost.
Yeah. And if you play on the collection package, it probably has like save states.
Yeah, like probably has achievements too that you could do. But as far as what we're discussing, the Super Nintendo version, I think this is a one and done.
Yeah.
Will I throw it in another, I don't know, 10 years if somebody else wants to play it? Like,
yeah.
You know, the youngins, they might want to go through it, but
the next generation,
sure, I'll throw it on. But this is not one that I'm looking to play anytime soon, especially with the amount of games I have to go through. I feel like once you beat this game, you've pretty much done everything you can with it.
It's an accomplishment, and you feel awesome about doing it, but you're also just like, okay, what's next now?
Yes, exactly. So replayability, I'm actually going to give like a 2 out of 10. I hate to give it that low, but it's just kind of it's not a bad game at all.
It doesn't. It's not reflecting the game itself. It's just saying,
correct.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I felt like we were giving it a low grade for replayability, but it's an experience that you go through once and you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yes, exactly.
It was a good experience.
That's right.
But it doesn't mean that the game's not good. It just means that you beat it, you're good.
That's right. Let's go difficulty.
Difficulty in this game is interesting, again, too, because I feel like a couple different aspects to it. Obviously, it's one of those games where we're trying to figure out where you need to go, like we were saying before, and that kind of makes the difficulty go way up in some ways because you don't know where you need to go. Mm-hmm. You don't know, like, what key card you need to find, or where to find that key card. And it's not like there's anything intuitive about where someone's key card is going to be. They're just where they are.
Right.
You can't be like, oh, well, I need to find... Alan Grant's key card. Where is the... Oh, it's totally going to be right here. It's like, no, it could be anywhere. You just kind of look around and stumble on it.
Right.
So you don't really know where to go. And the game doesn't tell you where to go. It doesn't really... It tells you where to go and where you can get to without getting killed.
Yeah.
Or getting killed and, knowing that I need this to get there over time. So it's one of those things that you learn what you need to do by just exploring a ton and being persistent. So
correct.
I think that raises the difficulty of it.
Yeah.
Is that confusion of where the heck do I need to go? The game itself, I feel like the buildings are actually easy in like the combat aspect of it, where the overworld map is where the combat gets really get tricky. Mm-hmm. Those velociraptors can really just make your life miserable trying to get from place to place. Especially when you first start playing the game, you will get killed so quickly and so often just trying to walk around. Once you get a little more comfortable with it and know what weapons to use, it becomes easier on the overworld. But you can still find yourself getting roughed up by a bunch of raptors at once. Whereas in the buildings, the combat's a lot easier because you can see the raptors, you can see the spitters, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Usually you can see them from a distance, and if you know where they are, you can take them out before they do anything. They really won't move until you get within a certain range of them. They're more reactive than they are, searching you out in almost every case. Mm-hmm. There's a couple exceptions, like you said, like in the free kind of roaming raptors towards the end of the game.
Yeah, the nest, yeah.
But most of them just sit there in the distance. You just line up your shot, boom. Mm-hmm. They won't give you too much grief. So the combat in the buildings, for the most part, is not too bad. And on the overworld map, you learn over time, but it can be tricky early on, for sure. Or if you are set with the right weapons. And then besides that, just it's not really puzzles to figure out what you need to do. It's just kind of trial and error and trying to pick up on things. So those two different aspects of the game, the combat and then the where the heck do I go aspects kind of play hands in hand. I would say adding those together, I'm going to give the game a difficulty of a B+.
Yeah.
It's difficult, not for the reasons you would think of a game being difficult sometimes. And again, the fact that you have to do it all in one sitting adds it up. But it's not difficult in the fact that, like, once you know what to do, the game's not too bad. But figuring out what you need to adds so much to that difficulty. The fighting system of it can be annoying at times while you're getting used to it, but I don't think it's ever, like, super unfair. It's just tricky. Mm-hmm. But when you add those two aspects together, that's why I say a B+. It's a pretty difficult game, especially when you don't have don't have a guide to look at or haven't played it before.
Right? Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. This game, like you said, it's just there's so many factors in it. The combat's not necessarily super hard unless you run into the T-Rex or the Triceratops over and over and over again.
Right.
Then I could see it being hard, but as long as you get the raptors or you get the guns to kill the raptors relatively quickly, like the bola snare, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That can take them out pretty quick. But the difficulty lies in knowing what to do next and where to go and what do I need to find, what areas do I have to explore, and then the fact that you can't turn your system off and save it.
Right.
So that's where really the difficulty is. There's no boss battles really. There's no anything to really you're gonna get stuck like with an enemy per se, because you can avoid the T-Rex, you can avoid the Triceratops. You only see them a couple times in the game, so the difficulty is just knowing where to go, how to do it, and what order you need to do it. So I would say the difficulty without guides is probably a 9.5 out of 10.
It's pretty crazy.
With guides, I'd say it's probably like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because it's still, you're going to die, but you get infinity continues.
I was going to say that does help a lot.
With save states now, with the collection pack, I'm sure that's probably going to be like a 6 out of 10. So it's not going to be that hard.
Right.
So it's crazy how I'll just say I have to give it 2 different scores because,
I understand.
Yeah.
I totally get that. Yeah.
A 7. So let's go story.
Story, yes. Again, there's not a lot of story told with the game. Mm-hmm. Most people who get this game, I'm probably going to have seen the movie. Mm-hmm. Or if they're super Jurassic Park fans, maybe they read the novel before that even. Mm-hmm. I honestly, as a kid, did not know there was a novel.
Yeah, me either.
I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So there's not really a lot of story told through the game itself, which I don't really hold against a lot of these kinds of games, especially when it's based on a movie.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes games will take it really far, and they'll be like, really try to walk through and put all those important scenes and everything, and sometimes they'll do the exact opposite and just completely ignore everything. I guess because of that, I'm going to give kind of a neutral score to it. I feel like if you're playing Jurassic Park, you probably know the rough idea, the rough plot of it. So because of that, I'm not going to take too much away from it. I'm just going to give it a C right in the middle there. It's for this type of game and this time of game, it just throws you right into the action, which is kind of what you want.
Right.
Now, it would be nice to get a little more of an idea of why I need to go, where I need to go, and that stuff, and maybe incorporate some of the elements of the story that way.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like if you're playing this game, you kind of know about Jurassic Park. You're not really there for the narrative as much of more just the experience of being on the island and everything. Sure. So I'm giving it a C.
Yeah, no, that's good. Having watched the movie, which I would imagine most people did before they got this game, I would think. Right. You kind of already have the idea of the story.
Yeah, and it was such a popular movie.
Exactly. And if you didn't, let's just say this was not based off a movie and it was just a regular game.
Yeah.
I think the story would be not very good because there's just, you don't know what's going on. But since this is a game that's based off the movie, you already know the story. So they don't do a lot of it. I know a lot of games now, if you do a movie game, they're going to have their own side story or they're going to put a little spin on the movie story.
Right.
So, but like you said, it's early 90s, so I got to give them a little pass on it. But story is just, I don't know, it's kind of, you just don't know why you're going to places and what you're trying to do. So I wish they could have done a little bit better and then maybe incorporating the characters, because I feel like they could have done that a little bit better. So
sure, the only time you really hear from characters is when those random
bubbles come up.
And usually it's not even like, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. It's just like, this dinosaur is territorial.
Yes.
Stay away.
Yes,
Stuff
exactly.
like that.
I almost feel like they could have done something where you could have like rescued them, or you could have used them as a different character with
Right.
different abilities. But
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
a story, I'm going to give it a, not trying to be too harsh with it, but I got to go 5.5 out of 10. I just think it could have been better.
Yeah, they could have done something with it, and they really didn't do much. Mm-hmm. Like, they just kind of... It's almost like they just kind of assumed that everybody knew the story.
Yes.
Which is probably true for a lot of people. But at the same point, it's like, you got to put some effort into it, guys.
Right? Something. And maybe that's why the second game came to a platformer.
Right.
Instead of
very possible,
world,
yeah.
So. All right, your overall score.
So, yeah, I really like this game a lot. It definitely has some areas where it could have been improved upon. Again, like we said before, just more of an idea of where am I going? Why do I need to do this? Why am I going here in the first place? And how does the story tie into it? Those are things that detract from it a little bit. The replayability is not super high. Things that it's got going for itself are the unique way that you do the overhead map, you do the building maps, going from that 2D to that 3D, which I think is really well done. The different dinosaurs I feel like are pretty cool. I like some of the things that they took from the movie, like having Mr. DNA and all the random little things like that were really cool. And I just enjoyed the different weapons and guns and some of the problem solving ideas and trying to figure out. In its own weird way, I kind of did enjoy trying to figure out where I needed to go now. And I don't know if it's a masochist kind of thing, because sometimes I hated it, but at the same point, it was like, okay, I got this. Oh, yeah, I remember this was all the way back there. So some of that I actually liked. Some of it, it was a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's a game that has a lot of upside, but definitely does have some, some big enough shortcomings in it. Not necessarily the gameplay itself, but just some of the things that could have been incorporated a little bit better to give people more idea of what's going on, and also a little more guidance, or at least an idea of this is what your goals are, and not just be like, well, we'll drop you on Jurassic Park, you figure it out.
You got the Reds, baby.
And that's kind of what it feels like. But anyways, my long-winded way of saying that I like the game a lot, but it definitely could have some improvements. So yeah, I'm going to give it a B-. I think that it's a really good game. You're only going to, you're probably only really going to ever want to play it once. When you get through the whole thing once, you're probably not going to come back to it anytime soon. But yeah, beautiful graphics. I love the music. And the sounds are good. Again, just wish I could have a little more music, a little more variety with stuff, and a little more consistency with that. But graphics are awesome. Really think that they were ambitious with what they did, but they really pulled off a lot of it really well. Again, just give us passwords or allow us to save the game. That would be my biggest complaint that I think they could have fixed. And then secondly, just let us know where we need to go, or at least give us a rough idea of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm giving it a B-.
There was no reason that they couldn't have had like bubble messages to tell you
Right.
where to the next place you should go. I think that would have, or at least given you a hint of what.
Yeah,
what
as amazing as the game really is, some part of me just feels like they were rushed or something towards the end, and that there were some things that just didn't quite come into play. Again, like, why are there continues, and you have unlimited continues, but why do you have like lives that would you write out you have to continue, but you continue and you end up at the same place you would have if you still had lives? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Most games are either going to give you limited continues, or they're going to, make them have some real feeling of consequence. I don't get that at all. So that's another thing that makes me wonder. I'm like, maybe they were kind of rushed to meet a deadline.
Yeah.
It just seems like some of that stuff didn't
incomplete.
make sense. Yeah.
Yep. It kind of reminds me of the E.T. making of the Atari game. The guy, he was basically just I think he had 3 months to make a game,
Right.
And they, it's regarded as one of the
insane.
worst games of all time. But
I think unfairly. I think
though.
it's more of its own reputation at this point. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, that's kind of what, like you said, that people regard it as.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how are you supposed to do that much in such a short period of time?
Exactly. And the whole mystique about like the place that buried them in the desert.
And he basically had to do the whole thing by himself too, right?
He did.
It wasn't like he had a
it was a
team or
one guy.
anything.
Yeah. So with this game though, like they did some just crazy innovative stuff with the two different styles of game basically that you're going to play in this game, and the whole like open world concept of like running into dinosaurs was amazing for this time. This game was very ambitious, especially when you go in the interior. Then it turns into like the Doom Wolfenstein type gameplay, which was really cool how they could blend the two. I really enjoyed this game. I think it was definitely not a waste of time, and it was fun going from one area to the next and, trying to figure out what you have to do. Because I tried to do that as a kid. Never got that far, but, finally going back and beating this game, it's like a weight off my back.
Absolutely. Finally got the weight off your shoulders.
And knowing when this game came out, I think it's a solid game. It had potential to be an amazing game.
Yeah.
But it didn't quite reach that point. But I think it's a really solid game. I think it's worth doing. Dinosaurs all looked good. Sound was good. 7.5 I'm going to go out of 10.
Okay.
So,
Response.
I think it had some issues, had some shortcomings, but overall I think they achieved what they wanted to. It's just probably ran out, got crunched for time and just had to get the game out. So
I mean, you think of games based on movies, especially in Nintendo and Super Nintendo. There's a lot of games that came out as stinkers.
Exactly.
This game definitely is not a stinker.
It's not a stinker.
And I would recommend it to just about anybody, just as long as they know that they're getting into a game where they're going to, again, have to beat it in one setting, and they're not going to be able to use passwords or save states.
That's the thing, yep.
Yeah.
So, there's so many Super Nintendo games that came out, and there was a lot of bad ones.
Yes.
We may play a few of them, but that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's what we're here for.
It's all part of the journey.
Sure, we can find something in there.
Absolutely.
So,
glass half full.
So that was Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo. Coming up next, we have a few games in the pipeline.
That's right.
Yeah,
on the burner there.
I heard last podcast that we did. We mentioned we were doing Earthbound Beginnings.
That's true,
and we are still working on that game. We've had some issues with me. I gotta play it more.
Yes.
I just gotta play it more. That's pretty much it. But I am making my way. I would say I'm at least probably 60% done with the game.
Yeah.
If I had to say.
Yeah, I had to replace my Switch not too long ago, and unfortunately, I couldn't transfer any of my stuff from one to the other, so I have to start again fresh on it. However, I was pretty much at the end of the game, so I know what to do and how to get there faster, so I will be back.
I'm sure you'll breeze through it. I'm going to try to really play the game a lot more. So hopefully we'll have that one coming soon. But we also have another game we're going to be working on, and I don't think it's going to be a long one. Right. We did the original title already on Retro Review Crew, and we're going to be doing Mario Kart 64 for the N64.
That's right, my friends.
So, we got to bring that racing genre back in.
Absolutely.
And we're going to go Mario Kart 64 and see how they improved on the original.
I'm just happy that I can play as Bowser.
Yes.
I can play him as in the first, I know.
Yes.
But I can also now play as Wario.
Yes.
Wario is
the new addition.
New addition in Mario Kart 64, so stay tuned for that gem. And we're looking forward to bringing that to you guys. Hopefully a little bit quicker than we've been bringing them out lately.
I think so. I think we can get through this one pretty quick. So, Mario Kart 64, look on that. And Earthbound Beginnings, I don't think it'll be too much longer.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to get that one out hopefully before the end of 2024.
I think
But I think Mario Kart will definitely be before that one.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take too long.
Right. It's not on RPG,
Yes,
all the aspects of that. But I would definitely think we can get Earthbound Beginnings before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Out for all the peeps and peepettes.
Absolutely. That would be a great goal to hit.
Yeah.
So Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Retro Review Crew.
Yes.
Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Need more comments. Comment away.
Absolutely.
So, until next time,
My name's Travis.
I'm Matt.
And we are the Retro Review Crew.
We are exiting Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Goodbye.